Okay, hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Miriam, and today I have a special guest in the building. If you're new to my channel, go ahead and introduce yourselves. I want to know you, I want to meet you. Where in the world are you watching from? As you can see, we're right here in the heart of New York City, here in Manhattan, and I have a special guest in the building. Guess what, guys? Guess what? First and foremost, meet Dr. Bolutife Fakoya.
Yes.
So I'm going to start by asking him a few questions on how he got into Harvard, how he graduated, and stuff like that. I know a lot of you are on my channel. You guys are following me because I talk about scholarships, fully funded conferences, anything pertaining to education, grants, and stuff like that. So today, I want to show you how you can it's possible for you. I mean, if you can do it, anyone else can do it. So you can do it as well. If I stop peeping into this video, please be cool. So if he can do it, then you guys can do it as well. So without further ado, I have my questions here. Don't ask me what the questions are, but come with me, guys. Let's go. So the first question I'll be asking him is, how did you get into Harvard?
It was a journey. I thought in the middle of my undergraduate, my bachelor's, that I wanted to go straight into working right after I graduated. And I didn't really know what sorts of jobs were available, especially on my passport and the immigration situation. So what I ended up doing was thinking about jobs and applying to them, but then also thinking about wanting to do more science. A bit of background: I'm a scientist by training. My doctorate is in microbiology and infectious diseases, specifically in vaccine development. And I wanted to work on things that I knew, really disproportionately affects Nigerians: typhoid, cholera, malaria, tuberculosis, those sorts of diseases. So towards the end of my college, I said, okay, I had a long conversation with my mother. She was one of my primary advisors. And she said, you know what, get the degree. It's important that you go in and spend that time. I applied to a bunch of different grad schools. I knew that because I went to undergraduate in Pennsylvania, near Philadelphia. And I knew that I wanted to stay on the East Coast, so I mostly applied to schools on the East Coast, but there were some in the Midwest and the West Coast that I liked as well. And then a part of it was also just getting the right advisors, getting the support, the recommendation letters, and understanding what the graduate schools were looking for. I started my PhD in 2017. We had the COVID-19 lockdown, so that changed a little bit of things, but I finished in 2022. And it was an absolutely amazing experience.
Wow, that's amazing. So you ported straight from BSc to PhD?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Was it a full ride, your PhD?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
The kind of PhD that I did, especially the ones in science, technology, engineering, and math,
STEM,
offer funding for you.
Okay.
And that was very important because as you've been talking about with scholarships and grants, some federal funding I wasn't eligible to apply for.
Okay.
So that was something that I talked with all the schools about when I was applying to them. And then when I started getting offers, trying to see, okay, how much can you cover and what's the cost of living in Boston and Cambridge?
Oh, wow. So that was how you made your selection, and of course you applied to Harvard. Yes. And you were selected.
I was
How
selected.
did you feel when you got the letter?
It was great. The head of the program called me one day and he said, we want you, we enjoyed you at the interview, please sign with us. We're going to send you the relocation bonus and everything just to get you in Harvard as soon as possible.
Wow.
And that was really fun. We celebrated that day. I actually keep the letter that they sent me, my offer of admission, in one of my safekeeping boxes.
Wow, that's amazing. Wait, so there was an oral interview?
There was.
Really?
So many programs, what they will do is you apply and you submit your application, you submit your exam scores if you're going to do that. When you're done submitting your exam scores, they evaluate you, your transcript, your background, and especially for me, your research experience, or something I was very passionate about in my bachelor's, my teaching experience. Then they bring you in for an interview weekend. They'll fly you up to the school, or they'll bring you there, and you spend an entire weekend interviewing orally with faculty. I think I met 4 or 5 faculty, and then you go and see all the other current students. You see what an apartment looks like in the city. They take you to dinner. The dinner they took us to was, I think, the top of one of the tallest buildings in Boston, so that they can show you that it's a fun experience and you'll meet cool people. And why that's really good is that if you choose to go to that school, you've already met people who were interviewing for that round, and you can go in with friends already.
Got it.
Yes.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So you talked about the exams that you had to write.
Yes.
So what exams did you write precisely?
For my PhD, I wrote the GRE,
Oh.
and that was the verbal, quantitative, and written section. And then I also wrote one of the subject tests. And what's really nice about, or at least in the GRE when I took it, it's probably changed by now, is that the day of when you're taking the exam, you had the option to send their scores to schools already. So if you already had your short list of schools, then absolutely just send it for free and then go and send it to other people.
Oh, wow.
And those scores, I think, are still valid, maybe? I'm not sure.
Okay, so you still took GRE after your first degree?
I did. Oh, I took it during my first degree.
Oh, during your first
During my
degree.
first degree, yes.
So it was still valid?
It was it was the summer of my junior year. I took the GRE. Me and my friends, who we all decided, okay, we want to do grad school. We all took the GRE together and then just went straight. One of them just defended her PhD in molecular biology and single molecule biology, which is something that is not my area at MIT. And that was really cool.
Okay, that's cool. So, can you tell us just give us a brief overview about your educational background?
Okay.
I know you were homeschooled, so just tell us a bit about that. It's strange, but yeah.
My educational background is all over the place. Primary school, I started school a little bit on the younger side. And so primary school was split over different schools and we moved around a fair amount. But by the time we got to secondary school, my parents, who in another life and still to this day were teachers through and through, they said, okay, let's try an experiment. Do you want to, because we couldn't find some of the schools we were looking for, the educational experiences. So they said, okay, let's try an experiment. Let's start developing curricula. Let's go work with a school. Let's develop what the goals are. Let's get them matched, what you need to do by certain ages. And then learn. I had 1 or 2 tutors for a few subjects, but a lot of it was, my mantra is that textbooks are made to be written. If you read it cover to cover and you understand all the little pictures and the inserts and the captions, it can be a really useful way to understand the topic. And if you don't understand it, keep throwing everything you have at it. I was homeschooled, and my sister was also homeschooled. She was homeschooled for 3 years, I think. Yes, 3 or 4 years, and I was homeschooled for 7 years in Warri. And then at the end of that, it's like, okay, what are the universities looking for your application? What list of books? What exams you need to take? I used to take some of my exams in Benin, so we'd go there and get the certificates done or take exams and then you send them to the schools and they read the application. That's one of the things that I learned when I was working in admissions, which I've done across the board for both my undergraduate and my PhD, is that they really do read the applications, especially if it's something that is someone that they haven't seen this sort of story before. So being able to tell your story in an effective way is really important.
Wow, that's amazing. You guys, can you see? You can be homeschooled and still gain admission to Harvard. Like anything is possible. So, the next question is this. Was it hard adapting to the life in Harvard? Was it hard for you?
It was in the beginning. For my particular group, there were 2 very distinct sorts of people. There were people like me who came in straight from the bachelor's, and so we really hadn't lived in an apartment or done that kind of thing or started going to what was now our work because we were being paid for it and being subsidized for it. And there were people who had taken some time off, gotten their masters, worked in industry, and then decided to come back. What was really interesting though is that we all came in with very different backgrounds, and they had to find a way to make sure that we all knew the same core fundamental topics. So even if you were like me, you were 21 and you were starting your PhD, or you were coming in as 28 with some experience, we were all in the same genetics class, we were all in the same molecular biology class, and that really helped to adjust us to the area. And then they also had social events. I think that's something really important, finding the community that you like. For me, it was board game nights or escape rooms or just hanging with friends that I made, finding the Nigerian community, finding the African community, and then also finding extracurriculars. I picked up rock climbing and other sports and activities, just to be able to, meet new people and get to understand the space.
Wow, that's interesting. So, did you find it competitive? I mean, in your class, how was it?
It, once you're in, the competition tends to go away. There's a lot of competition as you're getting there, and you know what the statistics are, and you know what it looks like to apply, which is why it's really important to craft that application, get it read by people who know what's being looked for, and then revise the essays, revise the statements, revise the recommendation letters. Once you're in, all of us were very chill. We all like to enjoy ourselves and have fun. In fact, most of us don't even talk about our science to each other because we're all doing our cutting edge science on the side, and that's our job. But there are other things about us that we like. One of my friends is a very skilled drummer, bass player, and she plays in the church, and she plays the steel drums, which I used to play in a former life. And she plays my own steel drums better than I play mine.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So did you have groups, did you have class groups? Did you have assignments? Did you have group work that you have to combine together?
Yes.
Just like I did when I was studying for my MBA. So did you have all those?
We did.
Too? Okay.
We had problem sets that were group assignments.
Okay.
One of the things that they try and teach you early on in the PhD is how to communicate your science. So you give chalk talks and presentations, and you learn how to craft a narrative about the story you're telling with the research that you're doing. I had the opportunity to do that a number of times in the different classes I was in for the first 2 years, and then teach it a lot. I started teaching and being able to evaluate, okay, what are we looking for in a chalk talk? How do we do that? And then thinking about how to increase diversity in the graduate school classroom. That was something that I was very passionate about because I also was really into teaching.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And I understood you learned different languages too. You picked up Arabic and what other languages?
I started learning French as part of my homeschool. It's very funny. My mother and my sister and I all speak French to a certain degree. My father does not. So if we want to speak in a language that he will not understand, we know how to go there. So I took French for 4 years and took my French exams at the Alliance Française in Port Harcourt. And then I picked up Arabic when I was in school. My friends and I decided to give ourselves a challenge. One learned Japanese, one learned Chinese, and I learned Arabic. And we just decided to do that for a year and a bit. That was kind of fun.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. Okay, so just give us give us like 3 steps that you took to gain admission to Harvard. What were the 3 steps you took?
I think the first step would be finding good advisors who support you and who know you and can write about you.
Okay.
The second part is know what they're looking for in the application and in the experience. And the third part is patience, just knowing that there's a lot going on. If you don't find out, call them and find out what's going on. On the advisor part, I say this back and forth. My professors, my advisors, my academic mentors, through my bachelor's, through even before, were some of the key people who got me to where I am and helped me understand why science was so interesting, why it was fun to study, and why it was so important. Knowing what they're looking for, they publish all of that, usually online if you have access to the internet. What are they looking for in an application? What are they looking for in the personal statement? What are the ranges they're looking for? How many conferences or speaking engagements? How do you talk about what you've done? And the patient side, especially for foreign students where they can't just run your name through a database, being able to say, hi, this is the requirements that you had. This is how my degree translates into this. Here is the information you need. Let me send that to you. I think there was one school I applied to that thought I couldn't speak English. And so they wanted me to have an English language exam when I went to go and interview. No, they said, okay, we'll just give you an English language exam. And at the beginning, they were like, yeah, sorry, we got that wrong. Let's speak in French instead. And so we just had the rest of our conversation in French. That was fun.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. Okay. So just share your best experience in Harvard.
Oh. Harvard Yard is nice. It's sort of separated from the rest of Cambridge, and so you get to go in, and there are these beautiful chairs where you can sit down and get a burger and just chill with friends and play board games. And then one of the things that we really liked, twice a year, the school, my program would put on these magnificent parties inside the museums, inside the Harvard Natural History Museum or the Harvard Art Museum, and you would get to walk around and see all the different paintings and see all the different glass and fossils and everything, and just hang with your friends. That was something we always looked forward to. And then I would say another really good experience was getting to see my friends succeed when they published their papers, when they put out their manuscripts, and when they were able to present their work in a style that I said, that's a TED Talk. I've seen this kind of work, and it's absolutely fantastic. Some of my friends work in cancer biology, some of them work in trying to reverse aging, some of them work in neurobiology and curing brain cancer. It's all across the board. We all have our different specialties.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so what's your advice for people aspiring to go to Harvard?
It is doable. It's
Okay.
hard, but it is doable, and it's something that once you gather all the things you need, you make the best case for yourself. Something that's
Okay.
really important. We talk a lot about STEM and maths and engineering, but writing is also really important. Practicing the writing, practicing the reading, learning how to take a research paper and understand what some of the core elements are, and then write about it in a way that can be read by a professor, because they will be reading it, but by also people who aren't in academia who will also be reading it. And that's how we start to craft those things. So that's something I would recommend. Just the writing and the reading cannot be overstated.
Wow.
And then, when you start going to things that you find interesting, a field, chemistry or evolutionary biology, take notes, keep a notebook with you, write it down, go back and look at it so that you can go back and see the things that you found interesting and how you can craft your own independent research questions.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So, would you go back to academics? Would you? Are you considering it?
I am considering it,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
I think that I really enjoyed the teaching element and I enjoyed the research, and it's something very special when you recognize that something is going on in the data, you've seen this trend before, and you're able to create a new dent in science, or you create a new dent in knowledge. And right now you become the world expert on that thing. You're the one who, if they're looking for it, they will reach
love
out
that.
to you.
I love
And that's
that.
kind of really cool. I also just really love teaching. I've always liked being in the classroom. I like breaking down ideas into smaller parts, and again, like I said, my parents were teachers. My sister taught me to read and write, and that was her own contribution towards my process. And we all, after school, you did your homework, and then you did the extra homework that was there to make sure you were always learning and going ahead.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. The last question. You mentioned something that you don't need to you don't need postdoc to become a professor. Can you shed more light on that?
Yes, so if you, in your PhD, if you're able to do a certain kind of research or get certain papers published or make certain discoveries, there are programs that encourage you to become a faculty member right out of your PhD.
Wow.
A couple of my friends have done that.
Wow.
And what you do is that the first year, when you get into these they're called fellowships. There's one at Harvard, there's one at MIT, there's one at Stanford, and there's some in University of Washington, I think. I have to go and check that. But once you get in, they mentor you, they show you how to start the lab, they provide the funding. You don't typically get grad students because they're still learning how to mentor, but you get postdocs and research techs from the very beginning, and that can help you build your lab and go to the assistant professorship and then tenure. So they're very competitive, and it really depends on what you're able to do during your PhD. But it's something that it's very rewarding when you're able to do that.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Wow, this has been a very, very insightful session. And I want to say a big thank you. Thank you so much for granting this interview because I've been trying to track you down like, hey, we have to interview you before we leave New York or Biko Kwano. So thank you so
but
much.
come back to New York. New York is fun, and we'll get to show you some more of the city.
We will try. So guys, say a big thank you to Professor Dr. Bolutife Fakoya. So thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you. Don't forget to like this video, share this video, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, share this video with your village members, your friends, your enemies, your church members, your mosque members, and all of your parapol members. And I will see you guys in my next video. Till then, keep winning and keep sparkling. Bye for now.
Bye.
Yeah, man.
The noise, the sound. Is it okay like this?
Hopefully it's okay. I'll speak a little bit louder.